Hey there, and welcome to Creative You Art Lesson Crates. This is Karen, and I'm your instructor for today. I want to welcome you to our 101 Dalmatians lesson. It's a mixed media on paper. Our inspiration is this little picture right here. This is from the actual movie produced by Walt Disney Productions in 1961. 101 Dalmatians is based off of a book by Dodie Smith in 1956. It's a novel. It's also called 101 Dalmatians. It's a wonderful little movie. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. It's back when they used to use cel art, which is where they hand drew each and every piece of the movie, every picture. So it took years to do a movie. Now, movies these days are cartoons, and feature-length animation are usually done on computers now. So that's why they're a little bit more vivid, crisp, clean, brighter. It's because they're not hand-drawn. So this is our inspiration piece here. And we're going to get started, but I do want to remind you a couple of things. First of all, not everybody comes to art as a pro. It does take lessons. It takes practice. You're going to mess up. You're going to have to start over. You're going to probably not like your first version. But that's okay. It's art. It's all learning. So enjoy it. Have fun with it. If it looks like it's more of a Picasso study of dogs, then that's okay. The next time you do it, I promise you it'll be better and better and better. So just keep sticking with it, keep trying, and eventually you're going to like the products that you have come up with. All right, you do have some supplies. You're going to need a pencil and a paintbrush. Remember that paintbrushes, these are your bristles. They're very delicate. You want to be very gentle with them. You never want to go against the grain of the bristles. Otherwise, you're going to give it a bad hair day. It's going to look like me in the morning, and that's not very pretty. You also want to make sure that paint doesn't get up into this part, the silver part, which is the barrel, because that's where it's holding the whole center of all these bristles. And if that in there gets rotted with old paint, the bristles are going to start falling out. It's not going to happen right away, but you're going to guarantee you're going to be working on a project that you're so proud of, and all of a sudden little hairs are going to start falling out into them. So just keep that in mind. Take care of your supplies, and they will last a long time. You're also going to need a napkin and a water source. I don't overfill it. I only go about a halfway, not even. And then you also need your paper. And because we're working with a liquid, you do not want to use the thinner cardstock paper. You want to go with the harder supplied paper that is, it's a watercolor paper. Now you also got a little box of these pretty things. And you may or may not know what they are. They're called chalk pastels. You have a variety of colors, and notice that they're nice and long and clean. It's not going to last very long, I promise. What I do, honestly, is they're going to break regardless. They're too long and they're delicate. I usually snap them. That way I can use a couple, more manageable size pieces. Got a little dust on it. So, where are the watercolors, you might ask? Well, like I said, we're using pastels as our watercolor. Doesn't make sense right now, but it will later on. Now, if you are using our children's package, it is the same lesson, but you've already got these in a watercolor palette. All you have to do is wet them. So that's a wonderful thing about the little palettes that you in the youth series have. Okay, so when it comes to sketching out the basic design, you want to make sure that you draw softly, which is also called sketching. If you sketch gently, you can erase any mistakes. And that's what you're going to want to do with a lot of this, because you don't want your pencil line to show. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to use about, I want to do a line about, not quite halfway, about a third of the way up, super softly. It's okay if it's not straight. Some of you are very OCD and you've got to have a straight table line, and that's fine. You can take a second sheet of paper or a ruler and draw the second line. Now we're going to go ahead and draw in the basic area where the heads are going to be. Now the male has a head that sits just below our table line, and then the female is slightly angled to the side. Okay, now we need to go ahead and figure out where the snout is going to be on our dog. We're going to draw a little line out to the side. Our circle is here, our line is here. And with this line, we're going to gently swerve it up and meet the table. That's it. It's just a curve. All right. Now this one is going to curve up, go into your circle, kick in, and come up. So it's almost like a boot. Now where your circle is should be about the top of your nose. So make a frown and meet it with a V. Now he's a very happy dog, so we're going to go ahead and draw a little curve and a grin that meets up. Just above that happy cheek is going to be the eye. Now he's sleeping. So we're going to do a slight smile and then a big frown. Notice that my big frown does not go above this line. This line is going to meet up with this eyeball, or just above this eye, it's going to hit the eyebrow. But first we want to add the side of the face. So figure out about halfway between where your circle is and this line here. Figure out about halfway, which would be about right there. And draw a line up. That's going to give you the guide to where your smiling eye is going to be, because he's a happy dog. Eyes are closed. Add an eyebrow. This eyebrow is going to be kicked up, so it's not going to be level. Typically, the eyebrow would be right there, but we don't want that. We want it kicked up because he's happy, he's dreaming. Just kind of a C that comes out to a point, come out to a point. And now we're going to make the curve of the ear. We're going to come right next to that eyebrow, just above. Touch that eyebrow, swoop in, and go to the table. This side, come up, and then connect it, and there's an ear. Now he has a collar on, which is going to be over here. Just a simple little line that goes to my table. If it makes it easier on you, go ahead and draw the table. Just don't draw it in here. These lines are going to get erased. So let's go ahead and draw his back. So come about halfway through his ear and slightly angle up. Remember, you're going to want to sketch this, not trace it. I'm going to draw a couple of spots. His ear is going to be black. Let's go ahead and draw the top of his head. This line here should come up just above the eyebrow. Angle it to the top of your circle and back down. All right, so where that head started here, we're going to come out with 2 lines. We're going to make his other ear. 2 lines there. This top line is now going to cross down and meet up with his face. We're going to add a little bit of a swoop in here because this is background here. We're going to see the other dog through this area. This is the inner part of the ear, or the pink part. And now let's go ahead and just draw the rest of the ear flopping down. I'm going to add the rest of the table. And we're going to erase those inner lines in a little bit. But let's go ahead and draw our female. She's very happy. We're going to start off with drawing her face coming from here, from the ear of the other dog. It's going to come up to a point. That's going to be the nose. I just went up and made almost like a backwards P. Go straight to the circle. Slightly curve it out. See, it's not a point. Dogs don't have points to their faces. Remember, all points need to be more curved. And now we're going to go ahead and draw her ear. So let's come down. Bump this up just a touch. Aim it angled. Okay. She's also very happy. Her smile comes from here, goes all the way up to there. Let's give her some happy eyes. Just a frown and a smile. Eyebrow, remember? C, but this one's a backwards C. Coming down and up. She's happy. She has a collar on, so just somewhere about halfway from her ear, you're going to just give it a little bit of a curve. Double it. And then come down just a little bit from the collar and go off the page. 2 very simple dogs. Let's give her a couple of spots. She's going to have a spot over here and a spot maybe over here. Couple. But we're going to splatter it some as well. Okay, so now you need to use your eraser and all of the basic lines that you did not use, which would be the circles and the table line. And that circle need to go away. Okay, so I think I've pretty much erased it. Erased the lines through the magic of editing. Okay, so now you'll notice that I kind of made them a little dark, and it was mainly because I needed you as the viewer to be able to see the lines I was making. But if you accidentally draw too dark, you can use an eraser and gently drag it along your lines. The picture's gonna stay. It's gonna be a shadow. In fact, it's never gonna go away because I pressed too dark. But at least it's gonna lighten my lines enough to not mess me up. Okay. Now's your chance to make any revisions or changes you might have wanted. And I think that's good. All right, so now comes the fun part. We're going to add some color. Okay, first of all, you should have a pen like this. It is the Nano Liner. There's a number here that determines what the thickness of the pen line is. It's a permanent marker, or pen, I'm sorry. It's a pen. It's a felt tip pen, but it is permanent, and it is really nice. It's quality. So what you're going to want to do is decide if you'd like to outline your picture. If you do not outline your picture, it will still be cartoony, but not super cartoony. I like to outline my artwork. So I'm going to go ahead and pretend that this is my choo-choo train, and my pencil lines are my tracks, and I need to keep my choo-choo train on my tracks. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to outline everything and try not to go off my lines. This is going to take some time. It takes practice, slow and steady. Remember, this is not a Sharpie, it is an actual artist pencil, so don't push hard or you'll ruin the tip. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video now so that you and I can outline it. And when you come back, we should all be outlined. Ta-da! So what do you think? Everything's been outlined. And now it's time to do the pastels. Now you can do the pastels one of two ways. As I said earlier, if you are doing the youth version of this project, you can fast forward a little bit because your pastels are already in a watercolor palette form, which means all you have to do is just add water. If you have the chalk pastels that look like this, you can do one of two things. You can use a palette or some foil or something like that, and you can literally shave some of the chalk pastel off. I mean, literally shave it off like that. You can touch your water and make a watercolor. Or you can do my favorite way. Now remember, before you do that, before I move on, you have to stir it really well. And a little goes a very little way. It doesn't go far. Or you could do my favorite way, which is using the pastel, coloring it in wherever you want it. Now obviously you don't know what my next steps are going to be. So when that, what I mean by that is you don't know what color I'm going to add next or anything like that. So what I want you to do is just observe as I do this. Don't do it with me for this part because I want you to see my demonstration. Okay. Now if we were doing this as a dry project, I would just take my finger and I would rub this in. But we're not. We're using the chalk pastels as a wet medium. So I'm going to wet my brush. Oh, you know what? I have a second sheet of paper in here and I don't want to mess it up. So I'll pull that out. I don't like to have my paper flat on a surface. I usually stack it up. So I'm going to wet my brush and I'm going to start painting right on top of my chalk. Paint away. You're making homemade watercolors. Keep adding water and keep dragging. When you reach the yellow, you're going to want to blend it a little bit, which means drag your brush through it. So now that you know what I'm talking about, I want you to go ahead and pick out two colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. What do I mean by close to each other on the color wheel? Well, when it comes to color, there's a few key things you need to know. I'm going to get to a stopping point so I can show you. Let's set this aside for a minute. Okay, color wheel. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, or violet. All right, there are 3 colors you cannot make. They're called the primary colors. They are made by natural pigments, cannot be blended. You cannot mix 2 colors to make red, yellow, or blue. They are primary colors. No 2 colors make them. All right, now if I take the colors and color the words on either side of it, so you see yellow's here, so I put yellow and yellow. Red is here, put red and red. Blue is here, put blue and blue. Then I take my finger, I make orange, I make purple, and I make green. These are called secondary colors. Secondary meaning 2. It takes 2 colors, 2 primary colors to make 1 secondary color. Pretty cool, huh? All right. So, quite simply, when it comes to deciding which of these colors you want for your background, I used orange and yellow. They touch each other. You can use red and orange, you can do red and purple, purple and blue, blue and green, or green and yellow. Any of those that touch each other will work. Do not use a color opposite. Whoops, sorry, green and red, blue and red, orange. Because blue and orange make brown. Ugly. Red and green, whoops, made brown. And blue, oops, I already did a blue and orange. And yellow and purple make brown. So do not use colors directly across. But if you use a secondary and a primary that touches it, you'll be good. So decide which 2 you're going to use. And I want you to begin coloring in your background. And then I want you to watercolor it. It's going to take a lot of water and a lot of patience, but you can do it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video while you work on yours, and you can go ahead and pause the video as well. Okay, so now I'm going to choose a color for my table. I think I'm going to keep yellow as my base color. I think I'm going to add some orange, a little bit of brown because it is a table, a touch of black, and I'm going to repaint it. Now for the table, I'm trying to get it kind of wood-like, so I'm just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Back and forth. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let you pause the video, and I'm going to pause my video, and we're going to paint our tables. Okay, now let's go ahead and get some either some red or purple or pink, and let's do the inside of this ear very softly. Softly, softly there. And then you're going to want to do red for this collar and blue for her collar. You notice I'm not filling them in all the way. It's okay because your watercolor is going to spread it. Now the color of the collar is kind of important if you're doing the characters from 101 Dalmatians. The female has the blue, the male has the red. And I just got way too much on that one little spot, so I'm going to take a little napkin and tap at it. This technique using watered down chalk pastels is brand new to me. I know I'm not the first person to come up with it, but I am proud of myself for coming up with it. I was in need of watercolors when I did not have any available, and I happen to have chalk pastels. Add water, boom, it worked. So it's really cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get going with the remainder of our dogs. If it's super wet, if your watercolors are very, very wet, you're going to want to either blow dry it so it's nice and dry, or let it sit for a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and give it a good quick blow dry and be right back. Okay, so I'm back. The reason that I had you draw your picture is because if you put a wet puddle next to a wet puddle, they're going to bleed into each other. And you don't want the black from the dog to blend into the sky. So we want to make sure that everything stays dry as you move along. What you're going to want to do next is grab your black. It's actually more of a charcoal gray. So if it doesn't come out dark, it's okay. You're going to want to outline, add a little bit here and there for the spots. Remember, you do not have to be precise. Outline. I'm going to outline right here because that's going to be shadow. You need nose. Go ahead and do the mouth. Eye. Eyebrow. Alright, so she's done. So we'll go ahead and water her. Start by touching the chalk part and letting the water drag out the gray. Drag it out. Now she is a white dog, so try not to fill her in too much with the gray. But we do want gray just so we can see that she has some shadowing. I know that seems kind of like an oxymoron. You want some gray, but not too much gray. Make her happy, make her pretty, fill her in. And then tap your brush to add more spots. All right, I think it needs to be dragged out a little bit more, a little more shadowing, just a little bit. A little more in the nose. I think I like her like that. Oh, you know what I'm missing? I'm missing the shadow right here. The reason I know that is when anything is covering something, it's going to make a shadow. If you think about it this way, if you're laying in the sun and you've got your hands out, you see that light is hitting my hand right here. It's not hitting under here. This is going to be the shadow. See that? Wherever light does not hit it makes shadow. This dog is in front of this dog, which means this dog would be causing a shadow. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line all the way on my back dog, not on my front dog. And I'm going to shadow the entire dog, the whole thing, okay? All right, so now we need to do our male. He has black ears. So let's go ahead, fill in his ears. You do not have to press hard. Remember that. You don't have to press hard. Black eyebrows. And now you can go ahead and just gently outline everything because you're going to want to have a little bit of a shadow. Black nose. Spot and shadow. All right, so let's go ahead and paint them. Start with that ear, get that nice and dark. We will add more dark on top of it to differentiate between the background dog and the front dog, because see, there's too little of a change here and here. So if we take our black and go on there some more, it kind of helps. And then whenever it's all the way dry, we can add some white highlights as well. We'll do this one. I really like the look of this technique. It's sketchy, but it's still painterly. It's almost, I mean, it is exactly what it is. It is sketching, drawing, and painting with the same medium. It's hard to do, and you can't paint with a marker. You can paint with chalk pastels. Now, if you get pastel where you don't want it, as long as you didn't press super hard, you should be able to erase it. Sometimes you can't. A little water got in there. It's okay. I'll just extend it out. Add little shadows from here or there. Shadows. Add a little bit of darkness under there. And once again, speckle it. Now I'm going to touch my black and really speckle the whole paper now. You can take your white, add some highlights. They're not really showing too well in the video, but by adding white highlights, it does bring the ears back out. So there's our cute little dogs from the inspired piece of 101 Dalmatians. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. I think they're adorable. And I look forward to chatting with you guys and doing some more art in the future. Thanks so much. Bye.